Good afternoon, everybody. I am excited to be back live with everybody, and I am so excited to start the first episode of the Employer Frustration Files. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "Why is it so hard to find good people?" Or "Why aren't employees taking ownership anymore?" Or "Why do my employees seem to not have any motivation?" If you've asked these questions, you are not alone. It's you and many businesses out there that I talk to all the time. I'm going to be breaking down the top 10 questions that I've been hearing from employers, and pretty much employers everywhere are asking, that really are the frustrations for so many, but it really breaks down to employee engagement. I'm Tonya Sowles, and I help businesses with their HR frustrations and help leaders know those practical, actionable, small steps that make a huge difference. So, today I'm going to dive into the 10 biggest employer frustrations that I've been hearing most often. We're going to talk about what employers are seeing and what they're experiencing in their workplaces. We're going to be talking about likely what's happening underneath. And then I'm going to give you a practical, I can talk today, it's a long day, an action step that you can take so that you can do something about it, so you can have a different experience. So I would love to see in the chat, what is your workplace experiencing? What are you seeing? And it's been a minute since I've been live, so it's taken me a second. If you see my eyes moving around, it's because I'm trying to find the chat. So drop those questions in. If I don't answer them today, but I probably will, I definitely will on the next episode next week. So let's start with one I hear all the time. Why aren't employees taking ownership of their job? Why aren't employees invested in their workplaces like they once used to be? There's a combination of things that are in play. It's a combination of clarity and trust. Is it clear that you actually want, as the leader, for them to take ownership? And when I talk about that, it's, do they have the authority to take action when they see something? You hear about those big brands, and I'm just lost the name of the hotel brand. I want to say it's the Ritz, but I could be wrong, where employees have the discretion to meet a customer's needs up to $2,000 or something in that range, so that it's set the expectation from the start with employees what your organization is putting as a priority, and that the employees have the authority to take action without having to get permission. And as the landscape shifts and changes in our world, you have to think about, have you set that expectation? And what are the guardrails? What areas do you really want the employees to take not only responsibility for ownership, but also give them the authority to do it? And give really good feedback when maybe they don't meet the expectations. So it's a combination of things, and you're going to hear this a lot through as I answer these questions. It's also the employees knowing that they have your trust to do the right thing. And I know I can hear it from here. Many of you are like, but I can't. I don't have confidence. That's a deeper issue that we're going to touch on a little bit. But when we're talking about employees, it's setting those expectations and setting them up for success and what success looks like. So, question 2, and this one, if I don't hear it at least once a day, I hear it 10 times a day. Excuse me. Why is hiring so difficult right now? That is a common thing. And what's interesting is hiring is really challenging in some areas. It's challenging for some fields. But one of the things businesses don't realize and they don't think about when you're looking for jobs or when people are looking for jobs, they're not only looking at the job anymore. They're not looking at the wage alone. They're looking at the company culture. They're looking at leadership. They're looking at what is the process? What does your job posting say about the organization? What does the actual application process say? What is that experience? And if those don't really address the what's in it for me from the employee's candidate perspective, it's going to really be hard to find good people who want to jump in with your company. So think about, what is your hiring experience? What is happening when your candidates first make contact with your company? What does your job posting look like? Is it all of the things the employee has to do? Or is it what's in it for them? What benefits are there? What flexibility is there? How are they greeted when they submit an application? Are they greeted? So these are really hard things. And the HRIS systems, the applicant tracking systems out there have built some things, tools in, so you can include messaging. But who is your employee demographic? I know I've talked with some leaders from a variety of different companies, and a company whose employee population is primarily teenagers, they have actually shifted how they're asking for applications, and they're doing it through text. So think about where your people are, your ideal candidates, how they're communicating, and work on fixing that hiring process in a way that makes sense. And it doesn't have to be expensive. There's a lot of inexpensive options. Indeed has built in a ton of different things. But think about even simple things. If you have someone turn in a resume or an application, is someone just sending a quick note of thank you for applying? Here's what to expect next. Here's the timeline. And I know a lot of us, when we're in the thick of hiring, we just don't think about those pieces. So think about what you can do to enhance that hiring process and people talk. And whether it's Patagonia or another big name, or whether it's the small business down the street in your communities, everybody knows they're really powerful places that are taking the time to enhance that process because they know good candidates are hard to find right now. Okay, question number 3. And again, Drop in the chat anytime what questions you might be facing, what questions you have. It also gives me some material for next week's episode. Why do new employees come in like gangbusters? They're so excited, they've got so many ideas, and within a few months, they just kind of fizzle. They don't meet those expectations that you were so excited because they just kinda aren't seeing that energy, not seeing the engagement. My first question's gonna be, how are you onboarding those employees? What does your onboarding system look like? Because onboarding is not about a day. It's not about getting all their paperwork done so that we can get them in the computer system so they can do the things we need them to do. Onboarding is really about introducing the employees to our culture. It's about introducing the employee to our systems, but it's also onboarding is so important for setting expectations. If you set those expectations from the start, that you want the employee to take ownership, that you want the employee to share their ideas, that you want the employee to bring their personality to the workplace, you got to do it from the start. And a lot of companies do some really amazing onboarding. They put a lot of time for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Some have even expanded to like the first month. A really powerful onboarding system. The first week, very intense. You've got a lot of one-on-one time with the new employee. You've got a lot of mentoring going on. But a good onboarding system actually is going to come alongside that employee for the next 6 months. So you really want to think about what is your 90-day, 6-month engagement plan with new employees. How many times is the supervisor, the manager, the CEO strategically checking in? Do you have what you need to be successful? Are you understanding? Have we given you the right tools? How can we support you? Or what is their next steps? That's another big thing for our new employees, especially in entry-level positions. They need to know that there's a future with the company. They need to know, even if there's not a new position after the one they're in, because you're a small organization, what growth opportunities exist? What new things can they do? And that's all part of that conversation as you're setting goals during onboarding, as you're talking about, what professionally does that employee want? And what as an organization do you want to see, and how can you help them be successful? All of these are really, really important. If you don't have a structure that not only your HR team has or the owner has, but that everybody in the company understands for onboarding your new employees, that's why they're losing their motivation. That's why after a month or two, they're not engaging the same way. So create a structure, create a plan, and you can do it as a simple checklist that tells you step by step, week by week. What are we doing to connect with our employee? It will make a big difference. Okay, question 4. If anybody has ideas or things that they've seen work really well, please drop those in the chat. Or if you have a question about anything I'm sharing, absolutely, I'd love to see those comments. So, number 4, why don't employees care about the business? This kind of touches on that first question as well. But one of the biggest reasons employees don't seem to care about the business, they don't understand how their work actually matters. They don't see how what they're doing creates an impact or makes a difference for anyone, let alone their coworkers, your customers. So it's really important that you help employees understand how important their role is. Whether it's a receptionist greeting your customers, that is that first experience for a customer, or whether it's a custodian who's making sure that your place of business looks like someone wants to come in. Please tell employees how their job fits into the overall scheme, but also help them understand and see what results they're doing. Think about your recognition. Think about how you can help them understand the impact that their small or big contributions make. Okay, accountability. Question number 5. This accountability is hard. Accountability is hard for employees, it's hard for managers. Question, why do employees avoid accountability? Why do they not want to be held accountable? Why do they not want to, or why won't they engage in accountability conversations? Couple of reasons. One of the biggest, many times, is the employees don't understand the expectations. So they don't realize that they're responsible for things, or they're confused about who's doing what. And the other piece, which I was in a meeting today and someone brought up the youth coming into the workforce and the isolation and the loneliness. So many people, whether they're young or old, are so afraid of making mistakes because they don't want anybody to know, because there's people around and it's a thing. So when you're talking about accountability, it's important as an organization that the expectations are set, that we have accountability conversations from the start. It should be part of your onboarding process, that it's normal to have a conversation daily, weekly, whatever it might be, about the projects you're working on, about the results, about whatever it is that is meaningful for your organization. But you've got to set that expectation from the start so that 3 months down the road, when you need to have not always a positive accountability conversation, the employee is expecting it and isn't afraid. So I just had this experience. I was at a client site yesterday and we're working on through some things. And I had to ask an employee to come to the HR office because actually needed their help with something. But because the accountability conversations haven't been normalized in the organization yet, we're working on it. There was a panic. It was, "Oh no, I'm gonna be in trouble." And it's like, "Oh no, I need your help. I need you to help me because I'm not sure on this piece." So having accountability and We have weekly check-ins. We do morning stand-ups, whatever that might be with everybody. So employees are accountable to their supervisors, supervisors accountable to the owners, or whatever your structure might be. But it's normal. And accountability doesn't have to be negative. It can also be positive and part of recognition, which is also a huge driver for engagement. Recognition of meeting your goals, exceeding expectations, as well as how we can improve or if we're missing the mark, balancing those out makes a huge difference. We're hearing all the time question number 6. Why are employees leaving for such small pay increases? I will put money on if you have employees leaving for a small pay increase, for $1 an hour, for $2 an hour, the problem is not the money. I will be willing to bet they're leaving either what they see as a dead-end position because there's no growth opportunity, or a really bad manager. Employees leave more frequently because of managers not being great than they do for money. So this is where it's really important in your organization that employees understand how they can grow, how they can grow, how they can learn, whether there aren't positions available that they can grow into. I have one client that I support that is part of their onboarding, but also part of their pay structure based on certifications and trainings completed. Employees, though in the same position, have the opportunity to increase their wage with gaining certifications. Or I have another client that I work with all the time that he has it structured so that employees, regardless of the position they hold or the job they hold within the business, they have an opportunity to step into a leadership team position and hold their job. So it's a really unique to your organization, but if you haven't thought about how you can create growth opportunities through job expansion, continuing education, duty expansion, all kinds of things, you really need to take some time and make sure that there is growth because that is so important to so many people. And think about those conversations, whether you have them in stay interviews, which I really recommend, or whether you're having them in just day-to-day conversations. Where do the employees want to see their career go? Where are they looking? What is their 5-year plan? Because if you want it to be with your organization, you have to understand what they're looking for. Okay, number 7. Question 7. I just had this situation blow up with one of my clients last week. Why do managers struggle to hold people accountable? And I love, love, love what I do. I love helping businesses and I love training. I love speaking and I love helping managers learn the skills on how to manage. So many supervisors, managers, leaders in organizations are amazing at their jobs, but they haven't learned how to manage people. But because they were amazing at their job, they got promoted and now they have a team. But maybe they never learned how to lead a team. So when managers are struggling to hold people accountable, when they're avoiding those challenging conversations, it's usually because they don't understand or understand how to mentor, how to coach, how to hold someone to an expectation in a way that is not punitive. It's not about, I've got to write somebody up immediately. It's not about that. It's not about just supervising. It's really about helping employees learn. And that's a skill that managers have to take time to develop. So if managers are struggling to hold people accountable, has anyone taken the time to teach them how to coach employees? Have they invested time in trainings? These are all opportunities that I've helped many organizations with, where you're bringing your great employees along for the ride, but also giving them the skills that they need to be successful as a leader. Question 8. Why do employees say they want feedback but get defensive? 99 times out of 100, if employees get defensive with feedback, it's because feedback is not happening regularly. I have a whole workshop that I did 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, that was throw out your employee evaluations. One of the reasons I say that is sometimes leaders only give feedback once a year during employee evaluations. And of course, an employee is going to get defensive if you're bringing up a negative that happened 9 months ago or 6 months ago. Feedback has to be normalized. Feedback has to be a daily, weekly, monthly, ongoing thing. And feedback is positive and negative. You've got to have both. And then employees can see that the feedback is meant to be helpful and not meant to be critical. It's really different when you know that your manager is going to come talk to you every week. You know they're going to stop by. They're going to check in and also say, "Hey, I noticed this. Have you thought about trying it this way?" You've got to make giving feedback an everyday routine. You've got to be finding those moments of recognition in feedback as well as correction. And most importantly, as a leader, you have to be seeking feedback yourself. You have to be asking, and if an employee gives you feedback, whether you agree, disagree, whether you think it's helpful or think it's worthless, if an employee is giving you feedback, the answer is thank you. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. If it was helpful, acknowledge it and talk about the way forward. If it wasn't, you can leave it there. But you have to also be open to feedback if you want your employees to be open to feedback. Question number 9. Why does communication break down? Communication. Communication is not a one-way avenue. Many, many times, leaders talk at, talk to, but don't talk with their employees. They are not engaging in a communication where they are checking for understanding. They're not engaging in sharing information in a way that the employee recognizes that they matter. It's not a mandate that's being given. So communication has to be two-way. Are there times when, yes, you're sharing information, you don't have opportunities for it to be two-way? Yes, but if that's the only communication that's happening, very quickly people stop listening, and they stop reading their emails, and they stop looking at the newsletters or the bulletin boards or whatever it might be. They're not looking at the app on their phone. So think about how you're communicating with your employees, and how can you build two-way communication in, even if it's not simultaneous, but it gives the opportunity for employees to communicate back. And lastly, why do employees seem disengaged despite good pay? We pay them really well. We have the best benefits. We pay 100% of all of their benefits, and they get all the benefits. Why are they not engaged? We're paying top of the industry. In the employee engagement spectrum, pay is probably 4th or 5th down the line on priority. When we're talking employee engagement, it is really about purpose. What is the greater good of this organization? It could be making a profit. It could be creating a unique widget that only is served by your company. It could be so many different things. It could be the betterment of the community. I work with a lot of nonprofits. They are mission driven. But employees have to know that they're working for something larger. Number 2 engagement driver, growth. In the employee engagement spectrum, I like to refer to the 3 things that we're talking about as the 3 C's. Employees, that purpose is that cause. They want a cause that they're working for. If it's making $1 million, that's okay. They need to know that's what the cause is. If it's making sure the planet is still here in 2 million years, that's okay too. Every organization is different, and that's fine. Growth comes along with career. What are you offering in the way of skill growth, career growth, opportunity growth? So many people now, because of the cost of college and other things, are coming into the workforce with the full expectation that employers are going to help them learn. They're going to help them get the skills they need to develop a lifelong career. If your organization doesn't have that, or as part of your performance management aren't talking about that in the goals, what are their growth opportunities? What does that look like? Even if it's helping them with a pathway somewhere else later, that's what's really important. I think it's Richard Branson that once said, "You've got to train your employees so well they could work anywhere, but you need to treat them so well that they never want to leave." Something along those lines. And the last thing that employees are looking for after they have their cause and their career, it's the connection. It's the connection to the organization. It's the connection to their managers, their supervisors, to their employees. They need to know they are more than a number. The biggest thing that happens in organizations is we see a lot of these problems, a lot of these frustrations that I talked about. Almost always, it comes back to your employee engagement. Almost every frustration with lazy employees, unmotivated, something in the workplace isn't working. There's not a system in place. Always? No. But if you're seeing it over and over and over again, that is gonna be your challenge. As I mentioned at the start of this, drop your comments. I would love to see what are your frustrations, because next week, we'll have episode 2 of the Employer Frustration Files of the crazy fun things that I come across as an HR consultant, speaker, and trainer, and I can't wait to share them with you. See you next week, and let's build some engaged workforces.